What is the fastest way a room of happy people turned sour you've witnessed? Bad snowstorms started about 4 a.m. a few years ago. My co-workers and I were texting each other thinking no way would they make us come into our job today, we are non-essential workers. We're all home waiting for the email to go out regarding whether or not our boss would give us the day off. Email finally goes out around 7:30 a.m. saying that we would have a shorter day but everyone must show up for work by 9. So I laid up, cleaned off my car, shoveled out of my parking spot and headed to work on very precarious roads. I got to work on time and was greeted by my coworkers who were all pretty happy just to not have gotten into an accident on the way over. All of the clients and meetings had been cancelled, so there was a party-like atmosphere. Just as we were talking about playing charades, we get another email from the boss saying because road conditions were so bad they were closing the agency after all and everyone had to go home. This was 20 minutes after we had all gotten there. I have never seen 20+ people all scream "Are you fucking kidding me" at the same time before. It was absurd and everyone was pissed. Was on a team, about 15 people, for a special project for a regional internet service provider. During the bi-weekly team meeting the manager was super pumped about how far ahead of schedule we were due to some new processes we came up with. After about 20 minutes of attaboys, the manager concluded with telling us all we were being laid off in the same tone of voice she used for the whole meeting, issuing a bunch of praise. Most of us awkwardly laughed for a couple seconds thinking she was joking. She was not. Not exactly a room, but our plane landed home after my company spent a year in Iraq. Our company commander previously told us to tell our families that they shouldn't come out to the tarmac to welcome us back because it would be a fucking circus and you'll just see them later. Anyway, stepping off the plane, who are the first and only people we see? Our fucking commander's wife, 3 kids, parents, grandparents, brothers, and numerous cousins' friends. In Portugal during the World Cup. Get there early to find a street bar in the center with a big screen. Place is soon packed. England start really well and everyone is singing and laughing. All of a sudden the bar up the road erupts into massive cheers. Lots of people go out into the road to see. Apparently someone just dropped an entire tray of drinks. We all laugh and go back to watching the game. 10 seconds later England score. Our bar erupts and we spill into the street. The bar up the road is deadly silent now. Weird. The game starts again and the bar up the road starts shouting again. Nothing in the game. What's going on? People look up the road again. Can't quite work it out. Then a really bad tackle goes in and the penny finally drops. Our bar's TV is the only one using satellite and all the other bars have cable. Our feed is about 20 seconds behind everywhere else. Every exciting moment is audible about 20 seconds before we get to see it. Have never seen a bar empty so fast in all my life. Camp. 150 kids headed to an ice skating rink. Everyone laughing, cheering, having fun. Sitting on school buses for 2 hours. The place is closed. Instant chaos, screaming, general unhappiness. Took us back the next day but still the angriest I've ever seen. 150 kids. Dude decided to pop the question to his girlfriend, at a work holiday party. She said no. Both parties began to cry inconsolably. All the guys in the room tried to cheer up the guy with their tales of woe. All the women in the room took the woman aside and did whatever the female version of the above was. Went from a fairly happy event to a complete disaster within minutes. Plus side, while all of this shit was going down no one was hitting the buffet, so I cleaned the fuck up. I made the mistake of playing categories with my mother. She said no foreign words, you have to use English words. Fine, fair enough. She then called out someone for using a foreign word, I can't remember, it's been 10 years. He took off the points. The next fucking round she used 3 foreign words. I called her out on it and she said it was no big deal, it was just a game. I argued that not only had she set the rule, but that she already called someone out for doing it. She called me a fucking asshole and left the room. The Thanksgiving family time was over as pretty much everyone decided that was the time to leave. Total time from game start to end of the family time? 6 minutes. Edit, I meant scattergories, not scattergories. Sorry if I ruined it for anyone. Frown. My friend used to work for a company that has always promised our IT department a trip to Hawaii for working through a couple of rough years without pay raise, and on the flip side we won't get any personnel cut. It was a verbal promise that once we are back to profitable, the IT department would get all expense paid trip. Back around October of 2015, they were gathered in the largest meeting room for a meeting with the president. There were snacks, drinks, pizza, etc. It was assumed that it was a celebration for a good year and they'd get the promised trip. It was a mass layoff since IT has been outsourced. All credentials were locked during the meeting and everyone was asked to leave the premise right after the meeting. Had a friend that was in IT have something similar happen, but the department caught wind of it early. So TH6E put a password on the servers and never told the employer. They got fired and escorted and then called the next day. They all denied knowing. Lol. Sweet revenge when the servers got wiped. Sadly it didn't cripple the company or anything, but it definitely fucked their month up. When I was a kid, there were about 6-8 families in our area who were a good group of friends. Regular holidays together, kids all close friends too and in the same classes at school, etc. The backstory was that one of the families kept noticing money going missing from a drawer in the master bedroom. They had an older son who was getting the blame but was denying it. Fast forward a few weeks and it's their younger kid's birthday, and everyone is at their house. Usual script was the kids' party would be late afternoon, then in the evening the kids would end up playing games in some bedroom as the adults had a few drinks. Kids were happy because we got to stay up late with all our friends, parents got to have a few guilt-free drinks. This night was going as normal until we're all shuffled out and home earlier than usual. We got the full story the next day. Once the kids were out of the way, the owners of the house had turned on their TV and pressed play on a video. On screen there was CCTV of the bedroom where the money had been going missing. Clearly in the video you could see the wife of one of the other couples, sitting in that very room, going into the drawer and taking money. Apparently they switched off the video, said what you saw is exactly what it looked like and asked that couple to leave. Everyone else left shortly after. We were discussing road safety with the headmaster. One of the pupils pointed out that there had been a car crash right in front of her just as she had been about to step out onto the road, earlier that week, which had been really scary. The headmaster laughed and asked her what she was wearing and if it had been her fault. Absolute silence for 10 seconds as he squirmed and then mumbled, I mean, were you wearing a ball gown, or as if that had been what he'd meant. Pathetic and excruciating. A 50-year-old man to a teenage girl. This story took place my freshman year of high school. I was in an extremely small 5th period theater course with maybe about 10 or 15 other people in it. We were a very well-behaved class that acted more like a family than anything else. It was fun. However, one day we got a substitute teacher who I'll call D. D was old. She had short white hair, permanent scowl, and always wore a jacket that looked like a duster. That particular day she was angry and you could tell. She had a difficult time with the computer playing the movie, so she was yelling, fussing, and blaming her ignorance on us. In our class we had several tech-savvy people, but she refused all help because we were too risky. Eventually she gets it to work, giving us the chance to ignore her. Around 10 minutes into the film someone realized she hasn't said anything in a while, so they look over and see her eyes opened, still, and unresponsive. They turned to the rest of the class, who were still focused on the movie, and alerts them. Everyone begins to freak out. People are taking flash pictures of her, waving, everything to get her to respond. Eventually she woke up, yelled at us, then went back to sleep with her eyes open once more. It was the freakiest situation ever, but the good news is that I never saw that sub working for my school again. A little backstory. I was about 6 or 7 at the time. My dad was addicted to coke and meth, and was using both daily. He really hated me because I'm autistic, and would constantly say hurtful things, hit me, etc. Sometimes he would do mean things to me. And then would go to play with my little brother and he would tell him to shun me as an extra punishment. I would sometimes go days without talking to my family members, as ordered from my dad. Anyways, this was a day where he was being particularly awful in the car on our way to Best Buy. When we got there, he put my brother on his shoulders, told him to ignore me, and started picking out games for the PlayStation that I wasn't allowed to touch. We got to the line and I was so tired of it. I yelled, "I'm tired of you being mean. I want you to stop hurting me and pretending to be nice. Stop hurting me." The whole store went silent. He tried to laugh it off, but he got a lot of side eye, and one woman pulled her kid away from him. It was an awesome feeling, followed by a sinking feeling when the store remained quiet until I left with him. Didn't witness it personally but heard about it and the aftermath. Back in 2006 an army unit was being extended beyond its original 12-month deployment to Iraq. This was the first extension for the surge and before it became common. Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld traveled to the unit's home base to address the families of the soldiers and let them know why these soldiers weren't coming home, and the few that had made it home were having to turn around and go back. It wasn't a horribly happy crowd to start with, but they were willing to hear him out and be respectful. Apparently he came in incredibly conceited about the whole situation and basically made a comment along the lines of, "They are soldiers and will do what they are told and like it." He was completely lacking in empathy or understanding and just expected everyone to accept and support the decision. This comment and demeanor immediately turned the crowd hostile, and the town hall was quickly cancelled and Rumsfeld had to be escorted out by his security detail. I worked as a contractor at a tech company, hoping to get hired on as a full-timer. There is only one day left on my contract and the VP of engineering calls me in. Oh, good. She tells me that she was really happy with my work, and thanks for putting in so much effort to make it work. And good luck in the future. Bye. So I was quite disappointed. Then they had a big company meeting, and as I was heading to the conference room, the VP stopped me and said, "Hey, sorry, this is for full-timers only." Okay, well, not only was I disappointed, but I felt like some rejected outsider too, after 2 months there too. So I'm sitting at my desk as my now friend co-workers go into the conference room. 10 minutes later, they all walk out, loudly talking, and I ask my buddy what's going on. The company ran out of money and is bankrupt. Going out of business as of today. So all my co-workers are suddenly unemployed and very unhappy. I, on the other hand, horribly feel great. Not because they all lost their jobs, but that I know that I wasn't rejected for a full-time job because my work sucked or they didn't like me. I felt grateful to have even had the contract at that point. Then we all went across the street to a bar and spent the rest of the afternoon there. It's amazing to see people in the morning working hard to hit deadlines and goals, trying to solve some technical issues, then in the afternoon, just say fuck it, who cares now, and go drinking. 50th anniversary for my old rugby club. People were flying in from all around the world, 150 plus people ranging from late teens to 70s. We went on a big pub crawl, combined with my dad's 68th birthday, the night before the big dinner. One of the old boys fell over outside the local pub, hit his head on the concrete and was knocked out. Ambulance was called and we helped him get into it, explained what happened to the medics, and off he went with his brother to the hospital. We laughed it off and went back to drinking, by far not the first time a player has gone to hospital after a night out. The night after, at the big suit and tie dinner, one of the old boys was wondering where him and his brother were, so he called the brother and asked if he was okay. He wasn't. He had a brain aneurysm and had little to no chance of surviving. A room full of 150 plus tough as nails men and women went from having the time of their life, to pretty much dead silent. He died 4 days after.
So many memories, do you remember these moments way back in the time? Trapped at the back of my mind, I am so happy to grind, I am so happy to find so much experience now that I'm passing the lines. Now that I'm grasping the signs, I have been laughing a lot, got nothing to hide. No, I got nothing to hide, bitch, I am stuck left behind. I need to drive, yeah, I need something to ride. Fill my own bank account, shit that I'm making now, putting it off to the side. Feeling the vibe, got this new sorrowful happiness that I just can't seem to guide.